Hey everyone, on December 5th, 2024, I posted a rant video that involved a company called Epidemic Sound. I had posted a very long music video on my channel, and 20 seconds of it was claimed by YouTube's Content ID system as being music that belonged to Epidemic Sound. I disputed it, and Epidemic Sound declined to release the music back to me. Well, I did what every good YouTuber does. I made that rant video and posted it. It got hundreds of comments, thousands and thousands of views, tens of thousands, it's way up there now. And not only that, but folks went over to Epidemic Sound's YouTube page and posted comments on their videos about the situation. Well, I got a response also from Epidemic Sound. A gentleman named Marcus, who is on their leadership team, contacted me and said, "Hey, can we talk?" So I did. I talked to him. And in the course of the conversation, he apologized. And he said that indeed they had made a mistake. It was a human error in their content review team, which he oversees. He also indicated to me that he was looking at their internal processes and determining how they could improve what they do to prevent errors occurring, like errors like what occurred with my music, from occurring again. During the course of the conversation, I decided to ask him if he would come on to this channel for an interview to talk about what went wrong and what Epidemic Sound is all about and what they're doing to make things better. He agreed to do that. Before I roll the interview, I just want to mention two other things real quickly. One is, this is not a sponsored video. I have no relationship with Epidemic Sound. They are not paying me anything. I did, in fact, ask Marcus if he would come onto the channel for the interview. And then second, this is not an investigative report. I'm not an investigative reporter trying to uncover wrongdoing. I don't even know how to do that. This is an informational interview where I ask Marcus questions and he tells me about Epidemic Sound and what they're doing so that you can determine what you think about their company and the services that they offer. All right, let's get into the interview. All right. Well, greetings, Marcus. Thank you so much for coming on to the Chords of Orion channel. I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy with your role at Epidemic Sound, but I was wondering if we could start by you just giving a brief introduction of who you are and what you do at Epidemic Sound.
Thank you, Bill. Sure. So who am I? I'm a father of three. I play the guitar.
Yes.
more for meditation than anything else. I'm also a content creator. I've been keeping that up for many years, and I'm still at it. Both because I think it's fun, but also because it helps me at my work at Epidemic, because it forces me to sort of understand our customers' perspective. At Epidemic, I do a few different things, but where I spend a lot of my time is on what we call the DRM department, so digital rights management. So that means I'm ultimately responsible for the situation that you ended up in.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that I work with. And then I do some other things as well, but I think that's the most relevant for today's conversation.
Sure. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Marcus. So, Epidemic Sound, how long has it been around as a company? I'm curious. I've been aware of it for several years, but how long has it been around?
It's been around for 15 years now.
15
so it was
years. Okay.
Founded 2009 out of Stockholm. And it was founded, there was 5 co-founders in the beginning. And I've been part of the company for the last 5 years, or a bit
5
more
years.
than 5.
Okay.
But so there were 5 co-founders, and 2 of them were they were music creators, they were artists, and two of them, so that their names are Per and David, so Swedish musicians, and two of them, Oscar and Zacke, they came from the TV industry. And then there was a fifth one, Hjalmar, who came from he's a serial entrepreneur from the tech
Gotcha.
scene here in Stockholm.
Gotcha. How would you describe the goal or maybe the mission and purpose of Epidemic Sound? Just a very brief description of that.
No, it's actually two problems, and I think I mentioned them already in the email or in the DM I sent you on Instagram in the beginning, because they connect to the founders. Like, two of them came from the music industry, so they wanted to solve the problem for music creators, essentially making a living doing what they love, doing music. So that was one part of it. That was one problem, and the other problem was as content creators, like Oscar and Zacke came from TV production. So they recognized how hard it was for them to find, like, essentially it's all soundtracking and licensing connected to soundtracking. So those were the two problems. And that's why it was so ironic with you, Bill, because you're both a music creator and a content creator. And,
right. Let me just describe briefly what occurred, and then let's just talk about it for a couple minutes. So, in early December, I posted a long play video on one of my channels, a 9-hour music video, and people may legitimately ask, why would you do that, right? 9-hour video. But there are many reasons for that. And after I posted the video, YouTube's Content ID system, and for the audience, if you're not familiar with that, that's a system that YouTube has that allows it to make matches between music that copywritten music or copyrighted music and music that's being uploaded to YouTube via a YouTube video. That's a very simplistic way of thinking about it. The Content ID system made a match between my music and a piece that is in Epidemic Sound's library. And so there is a method to dispute the claim because it was my original music. So I did that. That's happened a number of times. Just again, for the audience, it happens quite a bit on YouTube because their Content ID system is not perfect. It actually makes a lot of mistakes. I think you'll agree with that, Marcus. But where the real problem lies is after I disputed and the claim then was sent to Epidemic Sound, that disputation was rejected. And, I got to admit, Marcus, I was a little upset. I was a little frustrated. So being a good YouTuber, I made a rant video and posted that describing the situation. And shortly after that, that's when you reached out to me to talk about the issue. Would you just tell me a little bit about kind of what happened internally, as appropriate, obviously, and then any changes or thoughts that you have about your internal process for determining copyright claims?
Yeah. Happy to do so. I mean, it's exactly how you described it. And just to give some more context from our perspective, I think last year about 35 million videos were uploaded with our music, or at least where Content ID made such a match as happened with your video. So it's a quite large volume uploaded every year with our music. And then every day, about 500 of these claims are being disputed then, as you did. So that's the volume of disputes. A dispute can come for many different reasons. Sometimes it's a paying customer who is a paying customer and has the right to use music, but for whatever reason forgot to add their channel to our system, so we couldn't make that match or whatever.
Right,
and then in most of these cases, we just release these claims. And in some of these cases, the claims actually were correct, and someone were using our music where they shouldn't, and then they just dispute it and see what happens. And in those cases, that's when it's really important that we don't then reinstate the claim by mistake, as we did in your case. And I also watched your video and got quite frustrated from the way you described it made it very clear to me that at that point when a dispute is being reinstated as a content creator, that is that's a big thing. As you say, getting a claim in the first place, that's not a big thing. That happens at a regular basis.
It does. Yep.
It's at the point of dispute where I hadn't fully understood what's at stake. So what happened was it was a human mistake. We had moved the responsibility from one team to another team. I think I shared that with you last time.
Mm-hmm.
And this new team, just as I did, didn't fully understand the stakes, and they were like a high workload, and it was a human error. However, I want to be super clear: the mistake was made in the team, but the responsibility sits with me because I was the one who sort of oversaw and were part of the decision that led to this moving over and not fully recognizing what's at stake. So now what we've done a few things, but one of them, we moved back the responsibilities. We've implemented more procedures to make sure this doesn't happen again. And to our knowledge, I've been here for 5 years, it's the first time this have happened. Like, what happened to you?
Oh, okay. So you're not aware that that particular situation happens very often. Maybe it's happened before, but that's the first one you're aware of. Is that
This
what
is the
I'm
first time
understanding?
I'm aware of that, like the specific,
This
like
particular,
where we are reinstating a claim where we shouldn't.
yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. So, how are you feeling about those internal changes and your internal capabilities to make sure you're correctly evaluating and identifying these claims moving forward?
I feel good about it because I wasn't the only one watching your video. Like, my colleagues did as well,
Hmm.
and they got the same insight or like realization as I did.
Hmm.
What's at stake when we're reinstating a claim? So now everyone understands what's at stake. So I feel pretty good about
Okay.
like who's involved now, our understanding on the stakes and the process around it. Yeah, I think the key for us was this understanding the differences at what's at stake in the
Hmm.
different steps,
Yeah.
right? And because the volumes are just so incredible large with YouTube and a system like Content ID, as you say, it's not perfect, and it's probably not possible to build a perfect system. There will always be rooms for mistake, and I think that then means that it's very important for companies like ours to then understand the difference between the different steps and then
Hmm.
the consequences of those for a content creator like you. And yeah, as I said, I hadn't fully understood that
Hmm.
before I watched your video.
Moving on then from the issue that I experienced, and then some of the changes and internal processes that you've just described. I'd like to talk, if you're okay with it. I'd like to talk a little bit just about the two aspects of epidemic sound. So, first of all, the creator who wants to license music. So let's talk about that aspect. And then secondly, the musician who may want to or is working with Epidemic Sound to actually produce the library that Epidemic Sound makes available. So I guess first off, let's talk about your subscribers. Am I understanding it correctly that Epidemic Sound offers a monthly subscription to a service where music can then be licensed and utilized in things such as YouTube videos?
Yes,
Is that
that's so.
is
So
that kind of the basic model?
that's the basic model. You can think about it as, I mean, you can either pay monthly or you pay yearly.
Okay.
But
Hmm. Hmm.
the way we think about it is it's about soundtracking, and to do that well. So as what you're buying from us is a solution to soundtrack your content, to augment your stories.
Right. Right.
And so, yes, music is a big part of it, and for probably most of our users, it might be the most important part of it. So
Sure.
it's about the quality of the music, it's about the breadth of the library, but it's not just that. It's also, if you use the product or the service, you would find that it's, I mean, you can use it on the web, you can use a mobile app, you can use plugins into whatever video editing tool you're using. What do you use for your videos? Phil?
As far as music?
No, no, no. For videos, like these videos that you're editing.
Oh, I use Final Cut to edit the
Final
video. Yep.
Okay, then we're soon gonna have a plugin that you can use if you
Oh,
want to.
okay. Yeah, you have a Final Cut plugin. That's cool. All
No,
right.
we don't yet. We have Premiere and
Oh,
DaVinci. So
okay.
it's also about the tools to sort of search for music, to adapt
Hmm.
music, and then it's the license in itself, and also the way we work with the platforms to make sure that you can then publish wherever, and we
Okay.
keep you safe.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense, and I kind of understood that. I do have a couple of questions just to kind of expand on the service. So let's say I am subscribed to Epidemic Sound and I'm utilizing the music as soundtracks in my videos. If I stop the subscription with Epidemic Sound, do I still have a license for the videos that have already been posted on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay. So
So
once.
anything you published
Mhm.
while you're a paying subscriber will forever be cleared.
That is good. That is a good clarification. Actually, I've been thinking about it. I was like, huh, that would be a bummer if I stopped subscribing and then the license expired and I have to take the video down, basically. So that's
I
good to know.
would have been very frustrated with a company who had structured their license like that. I
Right.
would have felt.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you already kind of mentioned it. It does sound like there is a process for a, I'm going to focus on YouTube now just because that's where we are, but there is a process for a YouTuber that utilizes your services to be able to let you all know what video has posted with music from your library so that you can ensure that you understand that that's licensed content
Yeah.
versus unlicensed content, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So the most common way is that they provide the channel that they're using. And that means that any content they're uploading with their music on that channel, we then guarantee that there's not going to be a problem.
So it's like a
Um,
whitelisting kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. We call it safe listing. So you can
Okay.
then safe list
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
channel. But if you're a freelancer, so you're producing videos for a client, then you want to safe list per video. So you could either safe list your channel, or
Hmm.
you can safe list individual videos for your clients.
Okay.
Uh,
No,
and
that
then this
makes.
allows us to make sure that there's no problem with your video.
Right. That makes sense. And when I was kind of in the middle of the situation with me, I did go on to the Epidemic Sound website and I looked in the help FAQ section, and I did see that there's also a process if a paying subscriber does have a licensing issue. There's like an escalation process that they can go through to ensure that Epidemic Sound knows that their content is properly licensed.
Yeah, typically what happened then is that they had forgotten to add their channel. They might have changed the channel, or
Hmm.
like so. Typically, we can resolve it very quickly.
Okay. And then final question for this aspect of your service. If I'm a subscriber and I download some of your music, am I allowed to remix it, add to it, change it, or publish it as another track, say on Spotify?
No, you wouldn't. It's like with any other rights holder, it wouldn't. Like you're allowed to adapt it using our tools. So you can change. I mean, you can download individual stems. You can change the length in a context of soundtracking your content, right? So if it's in the context of you're telling a story, you're producing a video, and by doing any of those changes, you can augment your storytelling. Yes, but to download our tracks and then make adaptation and uploading it to platform like Spotify or etc., that you wouldn't be allowed to do that.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. And I do, from our original conversation, you did mention to me that that sometimes is an issue for you guys. There are some people that try to do that. Uh, so
Yes.
I get that there are probably challenges from the Epidemic Sound side. All right, so let's talk about it from your services from the artist side. So when we spoke before, you mentioned that you have a quite sizable group of artists who are producing music for you. About how many folks do you have creating music for your library?
I would think in a given year about 500 music creators globally.
Okay. So about 500. And I guess that shifts over time from year to year as people come and go.
Yeah, yeah, it shifts based on their needs. So they might
Hmm.
be in a state in their life where they're not, yeah, where they want to do other things, and it might shift because of our needs. Because we always want to find people who sort of, we know the needs from our customers, and then we want to find and partner with music creators whose like where their skill sets lies within whatever genre or whatever type of
Sure.
music that's on demand. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Is it an exclusive agreement between the artist and Epidemic Sound?
No, it's not. I mean, so the setup, it has evolved over the 15 years, but I would say the values are the same as at the founding of the company. So
Hmm.
I'm serious when we say we're trying to solve these problems. So an exclusivity and long lockings would be one of the things we're not we're not interested in that. We want to be an alternative, and we want music creators to work with us because they really want to and never want to feel that they're sort of locked into working with us. So no.
Okay. And without, you don't need to provide exact dollar or euro amounts, but just in general, how does the compensation work for Epidemic
I,
Sound artists?
I'm happy to provide the numbers.
Oh, okay. Sure. Whatever you'd like.
Yeah, no. I mean, back to our values, like, because one of the problems is about transparency
Hmm.
within the music industry, like lock-ins, transparency, obscuring the numbers. No, so you can think about the composition. It consists of sort of four components.
Hmm.
So, and we think the combination of the four components, we think is overall makes it a very attractive proposition. So, the first component is the fixed fee. So that's typically between maybe $1.5, $2,000 up to $8,000 per track. So that's the fixed fee that we're paying per track.
Okay.
And what's driving the cost is the complexity of the track and these things.
Hmm.
And we always pay that, no matter, like, no one might ever listen or use that track. We're still going to pay you that money. Okay?
Okay.
That's the first one. The second one is a royalty split when we then publish these tracks on Spotify or Apple Music or all of these different DSPs that you find around the world. We split that royalties 50-50 with the music creator, and we do that from day one. And the fixed fee that I mentioned first is not a recoup. No, that's separate, right? So the
Okay. Hmm.
royalty split is separate from that. And we're going to pay you that from day one and forever. So it doesn't matter if you stop working with us, you're still going to get that 50-50
Okay.
split.
Okay.
And
Makes
then,
sense.
and then the third one is if your music is very successful with our customers, we also have a pool from which we pay out a bonus for based on the performance with the customers. And then fourth, we also allow our music creators to buy into the same incentives program as our employees. So anyone working at the company can become a shareholder, and we do the same for the music creators that we
Oh,
work with.
interesting.
But those are essentially the four different financial components that we provide to our music creators.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the financial component is one part of it, and it's an important one, and we
Of
take it very
course.
seriously.
Yep.
However, it's not the only reason why music creators work with us. So we also, one other big reason is because we've been doing soundtracking for 15 years now, we've
Hmm.
been and somewhat successful of it. It means we have a lot of customers, and those customers happen to be big creators. Like it's many of the biggest creators in the world are our customers. So it means the music is then in a soundtracking context reaching, I think we're about 2.5 billion views per day on YouTube alone that our
Mm.
music is being heard. And that then allows our artists to reach an audience that then can convert from being passive viewers of a video to actually, this song spoke to me in an interesting way. because this creator that I've loved and followed for many, many years are using this music in an interesting way, integrated into the content, and then they convert over and becomes active listeners and fans on Spotify. So I would say that's one of the main reasons why music creators work with us, is because that allows them to then, in a world where there's so much going on, there's so much content, it allows them to actually reach an audience and have a shot of sort of reaching new. So that's a big part of it. And then we're also trying to create a community between the music creators, and also not just between our music creators, but also to people not directly like working with the company, but like Johnny Marr, who you might know, Richie Houghton. Those are people who are mentors to our artists. So they're working directly with younger, more emerging artists through mentorship and curating music from our catalog. So that's also part of what we're trying to sort of bring back to the music creators we work with. So not just the financials, although the financials are really important, and we take it seriously, and we want it to be fair and transparent. But we don't think that shouldn't be the only part. Like these other parts are.
It's just part of the puzzle, so to speak. Yeah.
It's part of the puzzle.
Yeah. A couple of other questions about how an artist works with Epidemic Sound. When an artist submits a track to Epidemic Sound, who owns the rights to that music? Does that transfer from the artist to Epidemic Sound?
Yes, it does. So Epidemic Sound then owns both the master and the publishing. Okay. And that's important for us. If you go back to the original problems we're trying to solve here, on one end we talk the problems for the music creators, but on the other end you have the content creators. So when someone licenses music for us, we need to be able to ensure that there is no risk that they 1 year from now, 2 years from now, or even 5 years from now, end up in a problem. And we want to make sure that's true no matter where they're published in the world, no matter what platform they're publishing on. And the only way we know of where we can solve that is that we then own 100% of the rights, because then that essentially reduces all of the other risk. But it's sort of connected to the part we discussed before. Because of that, then it's really important that we are very transparent and fair in how we then treat the fact that we have those rights back to the music creators about both the financial models and transparency.
Okay. So I think, is this fair to say, if I were going to be, if I were interested in becoming an Epidemic Sound musician, I would want to think carefully about the music that I produce and where I want the rights to sit. So in other words, if I'm going to produce an album of my original music that I want to retain rights to, none of that music is music that I would want to submit to Epidemic Sound.
Yep.
Okay.
I would say so. However, I would, think through but even if you work with Epidemic Sound, you can still promote music. You can still play that music on live shows. You can, we're going to distribute the music for yourself. Like, we're going to take care of all of the sort of administration and technical
aspects. So you're not giving up that part of the rights.
No. So in many ways, we look at it as a partnership where your success should be our success, and the more successful you are, the more successful all of us are.
Sure. And I guess the point that I am trying to make is that an artist, and I think it's important for any artist, whether it's an Epidemic Sound artist or in any other context, is to think about the music that you're creating and what you as an artist are doing with the rights to that music. It should be a very deliberate, thoughtful, mindful decision. And you should, as an artist, I'm speaking to you guys here who are listening to this video, you want to be very clear in your mind what the legal agreement is and where the rights are flowing to. And make sure you're okay with it. If you're okay with it, then, it's great. What you don't want to do is make a decision like that without fully understanding the implications.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that I think this really covers the heart of the questions that I had regarding the artist's relationship with epidemic sound. Um, so, if you don't mind, could we talk about that Harper's article that posted in January? Um, it was a fairly negative article. I'm sure you would agree with that characterization of the article, in which it really kind of focused on Spotify and some of the ways that Spotify operates in terms of populating music for playlists, and how Spotify utilizes Epidemic Sound and several other companies to provide music for some of these Spotify playlists. And one of the topics that came up was or one of the aspects that came up is what I will call a ghost artist. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, but I feel like the song that was incorrectly claimed in my situation might have been one of those artists. The name of the artist is Hannah Lindgren. I have not been able to find any reference to Hannah outside of Spotify, really, and then obviously also on the Epidemic Sound website in the library, right? There's no, Hannah doesn't have a website that I could find, no description of her background or music. Um, so I'm wondering if that you don't need to give me specifics on Hannah. I don't know that that would be appropriate for this interview, but is that an example of one of these artists that are referred to as ghost artists?
No, no. So Hannah exists. Her
Oh, I'm not
first
saying
name.
she's not a real person. I think she's a real person who's a real musician.
She's a real musician. So
Mm,
we work with, as I said, like 500 music creators in a given year. Some of them are, you could call them quite traditional in the sense that they
mhm.
are doing live acts. They're very active in sort of building up their brand.
Yep. Hmm.
Oi would be one of them. Janset, a female UK rapper. Like, so that's
Hmm.
on one end of the scale. And then you get to the other end of the scale where you would find the likes of Hanna or maybe Johannes Bornelöf or I mean, there's quite a few who are incredibly skilled music creators, but they don't have an ambition to be an artist, and they don't have an ambition to sort of build up their brand. But they but they still want to produce music. They want to make a living doing what they love. So, and the specific about Hanna Lindgren, like she's one of them. Her first name is actually a different one, but that's her last name,
Okay.
and
Hmm.
she's. I find her music to be. I really like it. Like, and it's
Hmm.
very in a soundtracking context. It's a very popular type of music. So
Right. Okay.
I it's I yeah no. So
So am I correct then in saying that musicians that would, and I'm going to keep using the term, but I'll put it in quotes, right? A ghost musician. Would you say that that is really the artist's decision on how they want to operate as a musician?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
And
That,
and then we have procedures in place to make sure that as much like we encourage them to also be active on social media. We encourage them to sort of build up their
mhm.
brand because that's that makes our product more valuable towards our customers, right? The
Sure. Sure.
more
Yeah. Yeah.
our artist builds up there, but we don't force them to.
Right. Of course. Yeah. That makes sense. So yeah. So what about Spotify and the playlist and the dynamic that was described in the Harper's article? Was that Was that article accurate?
Uh, so Spotify. So I'll tell you now my own sort of view on this. Spotify have done. Now I'm telling you as a Marcus the individual and my own experience with Spotify.
Just as long as you don't mind being it being on this
No, it
video.
is everything I'm
Okay,
saying.
okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Right, right.
I think they've done actually a great job of creating an experience that I enjoy a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
I've Spotify is, even though I'm getting Apple Music for free, somehow I still find it worth it, or not for free, but it's sort of they bundle it in and they do
Yeah.
whatever they can to sort of move me over. But for whatever reason, I've stayed with Spotify because I just find that experience to be the one that I've sort of got used to. I created habits around, and then as a result of that, Spotify become quite powerful in because they're essentially controlling a big part of the demand, and then they've been experimenting for quite some time with a lot of different products. Discovery mode is one of them, a well-known marketing program to promote specific tracks. They've done for many years different type of experiments. We're trying like this value exchange between the music creators and the platform in exchange for distribution. And yeah, I mean, we played around with that as any other major rights holders in the world. So yes, that exists, and it's not a secret in any way.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually did the article mentioned that that aspect of Spotify had been going on since 2017, and when I read the article, I thought, yeah, that is probably about the time that I became aware of it. I think it was probably on some podcast by maybe CD Baby or
But
somebody like that. I don't remember specifically. It was a long time ago, but I know that program is not brand new, in other words.
yeah, but I mean, I don't want to speak for Spotify, but I'll speak for us.
Yeah, of course.
We take what we do very seriously, and we want to produce incredible music for soundtracking.
Mm-hmm.
And the quality is like the quality is the most important thing. And then I would guess that Spotify cares a lot about the user experience as well and the quality of whatever playlist that they're curating. And I think there's what I take a bit offense with in sort of the narrative around this is that it's sort of looked down upon the music that I mean, as I said, we have a broad range of music creators, and some of them are sort of looks more like traditional frontline artists, and some of them less so, and they're creating ambient music or music that is sort of more functional soundtracking. And what I take a bit offense with is that it's sort of looked down upon that part of the like I believe you could take that just as serious as if you were a more traditional artist and care about quality just as much there.
Okay, Marcus, I know you only have a few minutes left here of our time, so I just have a couple of quick questions for you. Actually, one question for you, just in our last few minutes. What do you think the future holds for small, independent musicians? In this world of large platforms and technology-driven companies, what do you think? What do you think the future holds?
I think it's a good question. I don't think I'm going to be able to answer
Did it take you
anything.
too long?
No, I don't think I'm going to be able to provide something unique, a unique perspective, because I think what I'm observing is probably the same as many others. It's like there's on one end, you have all of this amazing opportunities because of the technology allows people like you or Hanna Lindgren to sort of distribute in ways that wouldn't be possible if you go back 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I mean that's amazing. But then on the other hand, the competition have never been as fierce as it is right now. So I think both those things are true at the same time. And then I think what we're trying to do, one alternative, and be very clear about what we are, what we stand for, so that people can make up their own mind. But that's, as I said, I don't think I have a very unique perspective. What do you think?
Well, I would say, as an older guy who did try to, and my viewers kind of know about this, who did try to become a full-time musician when I was in my 20s. YouTube in particular has been an amazing opportunity for me to have a platform where I can create music and have people want to listen to it. So I think there are some interesting opportunities that are still out there. Personally, I'm concerned about some of the platform directions. I understand Spotify's unique user experience. But I also think that its commitment to small independent musicians has not played out in the way that the company has communicated over the years.
On YouTube, Bill, how much do you find yourself caring about the performance of your videos? And do you find that to influence your creative direction or sort of your creativity in any way? Or do you feel, or you do what you do, and then it might perform, it might not perform, and it is what it is.
As far as the music goes, I perform what I perform.
Yeah. And then people might like it or not, and you're not.
People like it or not. That's right. Exactly. I try to be very consistent with that. Some of the other topics, like this one, for example, I will try to consider what my viewers might enjoy. But as far as the music goes, I try to remain true to whatever my artistic vision is for the piece.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey, you're asking me questions now.
Sorry.
Just want to express my thanks to you again for taking time out of your busy day, in particular, the information about the volume of disputes that you all have to handle on a daily basis. It does sound quite significant. I understand why there may have been a mistake. It does sound, though, like you're taking, like this particular situation really was kind of eye-opening and caused you to reevaluate some of your internal processes, which I think is a great thing. I think that's very, very hopeful for you all to be able to continue to improve what you do. So overall, I found this very enlightening, and I really, really do appreciate your time, Marcus. Thank you so much
Same to
for coming on the channel and hanging out for a little bit.
Cool. Thanks.
So there you have it, the big interview with Marcus from Epidemic Sound. Some of you may have noticed that there are some edits in the interview. I promise you, I did not edit out any important questions or answers, and Marcus did not ask me to edit any of the interview. What I did cut out mostly were me asking rambling questions, saying and not making sense. So it's really just edited for conciseness and clarity. I found the interview very insightful and informative, but I am really, really interested to know what you think of the interview and of Epidemic Sound. Would you please post a comment below and let me know your thoughts? If you have a YouTube channel and you're thinking that you would like to use some of this interview for commentary in a video of your own, I'm totally cool with that. Feel free to do so, but please do me a favor. Post a link to this video, the full interview, in the video description of your video. That way folks can click on it, watch the full video, and make sure they have the full context of the conversation. Remember, context is everything. All right, I'll see all of you on the next video.